Hi, I'm George Rogers. I'm here to share with you another insight on character-based learning. It's been said that ideas are the most powerful things in the world. I believe it. But if that's true, the most empowering thing, the thing that would give us the most power in this world, is to be able to distinguish or tell a good idea from a bad idea. But for all of its benefits, this doesn't appear to be a common trait or ability that most of us have. Consider this for a moment. If you like irony, this might be called a delicious irony if it weren't so sad and so tragic. In our society, we go to great effort to control toxic waste. We have extensive laws that govern what toxic waste is, who can handle it, how they must handle it, where it must be stored, and how it must be stored. And for good reason. Toxic waste is indeed hazardous to health. It can cause serious illnesses and even cause death. But at the same time, in our society, we offer almost no protections against toxic ideas, toxic ways of thinking that are every bit as destructive and hurtful to human life as are toxic waste, or as is toxic waste. So, I've given you now, in part, my answer, or in part the answer to insight question number 8.
Why do we need to teach our children about faulty thinking? The answer to this question may best be provided by an analogy. If you were teaching a person about wilderness survival, you would not only tell them about the plants they could eat, but you would also warn them about the plants they must not eat. This idea was admirably expressed by Frances Hodgson Burnett in The Secret Garden. She wrote, "One of the new things people began to find out in the last century was that thoughts, just mere thoughts, are as powerful as electric batteries, as good for one as sunlight is, or as bad as poison. To let a sad thought or a bad thought get into your mind is as dangerous as letting a scarlet fever germ into your body. You may never get it out as long as you live." The advantages of thoughts over scarlet fever is that we have a great deal more control over them, and when we understand which kinds of thoughts are not useful to us, or which may even be harmful to us, we can choose to eliminate them from our thinking. With this in mind, I would like to introduce you to the Stinkin' Thinkin' Gang. I use these characters in lessons for children in grades 2 through 6. The Stinkin' Thinkin' Gang is a band of thieves out to rob us of common sense and good judgment. Once you introduce these characters, or characters like them, to young people, they are better able to recognize their influence on choices made by people in history, in literature, in current events, in people they know, and even within themselves. It helps children to understand how people get into difficulties when they use this kind of thinking, and how to avoid those kind of difficulties themselves. You can use these characters to explore in greater depth the kind of thinking that makes up our attitudes, so they can distinguish between those kinds of thinking that are helpful and those that are not. This bad guy is I Want It Now. He's the leader of the Stinkin' Thinkin' Gang. His job is to get us to make bad choices by influencing our wants. If he can get us to want things that are not good for us, and conversely not want things that are good, he can rob us of our ability to think clearly. Once I Want It Now gets a good hold on us, Biggs Bigger, Live-Fib, and other members of the gang step in, and working together, they can pretty much get us to do most anything we want, no matter how foolish or hurtful it may be. Children easily recognize the influence of I Want It Now in their own lives and in the lives of others. Biggs Bigger is like the mirror in the funhouse that makes things look bigger than they really are. Biggs Bigger works closely with I Want It Now. His job is to make us think things are more important, more valuable, more attractive, more desirable, more necessary, more urgent, and even more frightening than they really are. He tries to get us to blow things so far out of proportion we can no longer properly judge their true worth or value. In doing so, he robs us of our ability to make good choices. On the other hand, Eensy Weensy Tiny 2 tries to make us think things are less important than they really are. He's like the funhouse mirror that makes things look really, really small. He will try to make us think things are less necessary, less desirable, less valuable, less urgent, less serious than they really are. He and Biggs Bigger work together. While Biggs tries to get us to exaggerate the importance of one thing, Eensy Weensy tries to convince us that other things are less important than they really are. For example, Biggs will persuade a thief to believe that what he wants is really, really important, while at the same time Eensy Weensy Tiny 2 will convince him that what other people want isn't all that important. Neither should he worry about jail time or getting into trouble or any of those kinds of issues. This is the manner in which I Want It Now, Biggs Bigger, and Eensy Weensy Tiny 2 all work together. Now this is one wicked lady, Lifib. She tries to make us believe things that are not true. She will try to get us to lie to others, and others to lie to us, so that neither of us know what to believe or what to do. She's at her best when she gets us to lie to ourselves. She can do that, you know. She is most successful when she gets us to justify doing things we know are wrong and to believe things that are truly hurtful to us. Name It, Blame It's job is to try to make us think things are better or worse than they really are by how they are named. Name It, Blame It will try to get us to put labels on people and ideas to make us believe that if we know the name, we know the person and understand the idea. He can turn our thinking upside down and inside out by using labels to make friends seem like enemies and enemies seem like friends. If we let him, he'll make it nearly impossible for us to think clearly. Last, but certainly not least, is Judge Before. Working closely with Name It, Blame It, Judge Before tries to get us to prejudge the worth of things before we really know much about them. He will encourage us to form strong opinions with little or no information. His goal is to convince us that we are qualified to judge the value of a person or thing without making any real effort to know much about them. Fortunately, we don't have to leave the story here. In our next video, I will introduce you to the Clear Thinking team, the CT team. Now, if you've enjoyed this video and would like to receive others in the series on character-based learning, there are 10 in total, I invite you to go to www.choiceskills.com and register there. Thanks for joining in. Be sure to tell your friends about us. Look forward to seeing you now on video number 9.